Hey, Tobin, what's up, man?
Morning.
We were Sammy and I just before the show started talking. We were just joking. Well, I was being honest. It's like whenever I feel good about something, I I, I always wonder. It's like I always feel like I need to justify it. It's like I'm feeling good today. I wonder why, and then I have to find a reason because I don't trust it. I don't trust the feels, Tobin. That's my problem right there.
Hmm. Yeah, I
That's
can't
an
really speak to
excellent
that.
point, but you don't feel guilty for feeling good?
No, I try to stay at that that level and just feeling good. If I feel bad, then that's whenever I'm like, oh, there's something wrong. I
See,
don't know.
Tobin's not broken inside. That's why.
Must be it.
Tell me what it's like, Tobin.
Oh, it's wonderful, rainbows and lollipops, and
Good.
I tell you what, I was pretty fired up yesterday morning. But really, in the end, I was really angry at myself because I know better.
Well, tell me about that.
Um, the the wording in the DPS website is poorly worded. I
Yeah.
could have wrote a better small. I could have probably made it in two. Look, please bring your social security card and your birth certificate. If you do not have either of those, visit this list here. You know, but no, it says it all confusing. Doesn't mention any of those documents. But I've dealt with DPS. I know. I should have brought both of those things. But I got it taken care of. And then on the way, I saw a pharmacy and they were like, hey, we're doing the vaccines. And I stopped in and I got them. And that's it.
You got the one shot, right? You got the one shot and done thing.
I got the Johnson. Yeah. They said, if you don't have, problems with blood clots or things like that, I have been a pretty healthy person throughout my life. I'm
Good.
fortunate that way.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Do you know is the DPS like your where you go for unemployment benefits and stuff like that?
Mm-mm. No, it's the
okay.
Dick Police Service. No, no, it's our Department of Public Safety. It's where we go get our licenses.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so like the DMV sort of
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Which is very similar to what I'm thinking anyway, but our we call it Centrelink, which is where you go for unemployment benefits and all social security sort of related things.
Hmm.
So
Whoa.
you'll
Things just
go
got
there.
trippy for me.
Yeah, you're glitching a little bit. You'll go there and you'll stand in line, for about an hour. That's pretty average. Because there's one desk and one lady will sit behind this desk, and you'll stand there for an hour and get to the front of the line, and I'm not kidding, this lady will say, go home and ring this phone number. They've reduced this office now to the point where there's no staff anymore. Everything's automated. You can only do things over the phone. Even job searching and stuff. We used to have to go and sit, at a desk while this lady looked through our stuff with a fine-tooth comb and made sure that it was legit, and would often ring employers to make sure we were looking for jobs. And now they just tick a box on an app on their phone to say that they're doing it, and that's it. Money goes in the bank. But when you actually need something, there's just no help. And when you actually then ring the office, so you ring these numbers that they give you, and you sit on hold there, and I'm not exaggerating, often for hours, Like there's been heaps of public outcry about it, but it's still never had anything done about it. But you'll sit on hold for hours, and then the call will often hang up on you. You know,
You're
I haven't
reminding
had to
me
do it for
of
years.
the movie.
I'm just getting furious remembering back when I used to have to do it.
What were you saying,
that-
Sobin?
You're reminding me of that. You're reminding me of that movie. Oh, come on. Galaxy Guide to the
Hitchhiker's Guide.
I just said that. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, where the big aliens are all sending the paperwork and have to go through all these
the bureaucrats,
stupid things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Vogon.
Yeah,
right?
that's
the Vogon.
Yeah, the Vogons. Yeah.
Vogons are hilarious.
Yes, I
And
think the Vogons run our social security system.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. I mean, to tell you the truth, I want to talk about ads for a second. I hate ads myself. If I didn't need money to live, or if I had enough money from my job, which of course, because of working in human services and everything, I don't. I wouldn't have any ads on this channel at all, to tell you the truth, because I fucking hate ads, to tell you and then it would just be patron for whatever people want to do. But since I am in that odd position of needing money and saving up for my cancer fund, of course, because I'm sure being here in the States that I need to have cancer money at some point in case I ever do get really sick. That's why I have ads. But otherwise,
here's a question, Andy.
Yeah.
How do you get paid when I have premium, so I don't have to watch the ads? Do you just get money as though I had watched them, or
what I do is that when you're a member, you get charged.
No, not the member, like actual.
Yes,
like I have premium YouTube.
Okay, so I'm not even sure about that, dude. I will tell you about how I know how it works on my blog, about how I get paid. I get paid a couple of bucks, so it's X amount of dollars per every couple of thousand clicks, basically. So and for any of you who have been on the internet, know that there are people with very high subscriber amounts and have a lot of blog traffic, but they don't get paid a lot of money. They're still living in their mama's basement, basically, because of the fact that internet money is not real money. It's not, it's very difficult to make a legit living off of just ad revenue alone. It's almost like it's a scam for Google.
And that's what I'm just wondering, whether you don't get to benefit from me being a premium member of YouTube. Are they just benefiting? Because if that's the case, I'd can the premium and watch the ads.
Right. I believe I get something from them, but I'm not absolutely sure, to tell you the truth. As many of you know, the only thing that what I focus on mostly, maybe 95%, is actually creating content. I think about, I spend my time thinking about posts on the blog. I think about creating content on YouTube, and doing funny little comics every once in a while for the patrons and everything. And what I don't spend a lot of time on is actually how to make money from these services, because it's a lot. I don't want to get into the nuts and bolts into it, but there's Facebook, there's Twitter, there's Instagram, there's a lot of stuff.
I guess, do you think that creates then a smaller but more devoted or loyal fan base?
I'll tell you this. I think people when people, this is what people, what comedians will tell you, is that people resonate with being real, right? So if you are real with people on the, on whether you're on stage or on whatever medium that you're on, then that will resonate with people. So I would hope so. Yeah. I mean, there's definitely some folks who are on YouTube with very large audiences who are obviously fake, right? Who are obviously just doing some kind of World Wrestling Federation shtick, right? That's how they model their channels. All the more, if that's what they want to do, that's what they want to do. I would be happy with just speaking out and saying what I think needs to be said. And then if people like it, then that's great. And that's how, once again, it's not the best way to make money whatsoever. But thankfully, I just been saving up my pennies for years. And I do have some supporters. There's no doubt about it. And thank you for those who do support me. But it's generally just great. Like I'm working on the second draft of a short story, maybe the third draft of a short story that I'll post up for people on my Patreon account and on the blog and stuff like that. But am I going to get any money for writing the short story? Probably not. But I do it because I like doing it and because I'm really good at it too. Some of my short stories definitely are some of the best work that I've ever done.
I guess you sort of have to hope that you can just get enough stuff out there, or that the right person sees it and likes it.
Yeah,
that wants to snap you up.
Well, this is true. The only reason why I'm on Pathos is because I commented on Dale McGowan's blog back in the day, Parenting and Disbelief, a number of times, and Dale didn't think I'm a complete freaking idiot, and accepted me as a person that can contribute on the non-religious channel. Yeah. But that's me. That's my story. Hey, Dragons and Genesis is there. What's up, Dragons?
Morning.
Oh,
yeah,
you said something before about de-escalation, and it just made me think.
It gives me the angers.
Same.
It gives me the angers because I could give people, because I used to do trainings on how to de-escalate people, right? It's like 20 minutes. Give me a half an hour. And it's just some simple stuff, man. This is not brain surgery.
That's exactly the point. It, in every course I've done related to this industry, the first thing that is always stated in a de-escalation situation is nothing to do with the person you're de-escalating. Is stay calm.
Yeah.
And no matter whatever that situation requires, even a stern or firm voice, you do it calmly. It's all about calmness. And I actually use it. I have a question in my interviews. I think I was going to tell you this once before, and I lost my train of thought.
Mm-hmm.
And I ask people, one of the questions is, how would you deal with an aggressive participant?
Yeah.
And I simply put it that broadly too, so that they can answer in whatever they want to answer. And that gives me a really good idea of what sort of, how much they're going to be able to handle, how much training they've already had, how much they understand about de-escalation.
Right.
And I've recently added also, how would they deal with returning a participant home to their family and the family coming out and being confrontational?
Yes, because family members, they can be popping. They can pop off.
Yep. And it's a whole different ball game.
Yeah. It's it's a series of skills, and once again, one of the most important skills is being able to time yourself out if you're capable of doing it. If you're with another person, then if you're the manager, if there's an assistant manager, then sometimes it's better just to walk away, because it's difficult, especially with young dudes, right? I mean, I remember being young back in the before time, in the yesteryear, when you get the testosterone pumping through your system, right?
Back in my day.
It's difficult to not get hooked into these confrontations, right? It's difficult to.
Good morning, guys.
Hey, what's up, Glenn?
Hello, Glenn.
No,
Good morning,
hey,
Glenn.
I sorry I'm a little late. I actually just had to go for a COVID test yesterday because my girlfriend might have been exposed at work, and it came back and we're both negative. So that's good.
Congratulations, sir.
Yeah. She works for a window company, and the a window installation company. The people that make the windows, they're like 8 of their people at their factory tested positive. We don't know if it was for the variant or thing. So the people that like accept the deliveries and stuff, they all usually masked up. But when they're in the office, sometimes they're not masked up. So the one of the guys' wife works in medicine, so he got a rapid test. He was fine, but yeah, my girlfriend was tested negative. I tested negative, thank God. So
Good.
so I'm still on for my vaccine next week, which is perfect.
Yeah, that's good, dude.
Yeah,
that's good.
Were you guys speaking about like conflict resolution at work type thing?
Well, there was that story, right, about the Dunkin' Donuts in Florida, about the guy popping off and hitting the 77-year-old guy. And Sammy and I have both been working in the field for a long time at this point, and just talking about how everyone should have at least some basic skills about how to manage yourself, how to help de-escalate others.
Yeah. Well, sorry, go ahead.
And just I know I sort of beat this horse a fair bit, but I just don't fathom how it's not being pushed in the American police force, more de-escalation. Why is it not half of the defense training?
Yeah.
Well, for me, it's not only de-escalation. Why does if you're gonna fire on a suspect, why does it have to? I think why do you have to shoot to kill when when the other person and why? I think Bill Maher said it best. Why do you need to unload the whole goddamn clip into the person when one bullet will probably take him down?
Yeah. Well, we were watching City on a Hill. The girlfriend and I, we were watching City on a Hill, which is on Kevin Bacon about.
Yeah, I think that's Prime, isn't it? Or is it HBO?
It's I think it's HBO. HBO. And there was a cop shooting a suspect, and they only fired one shot, and it's like, see, that's unrealistic. He would have dropped at least 2 more. Or flip into him or something, and it's sad. It's on Showtime, the girlfriend says, and it's a sad but true about American police. They trigger happy, but in a trigger happy society.
Can I extend on that thought for a moment?
Sure.
If you're a cop and you are threatened enough or violent enough to pull the trigger once, you know that you're going to hit somebody and there is a chance that they may not survive to testify against you. But if you unload the whole clip, there is almost zero chance that they are going to survive and testify against you. So if you pull the trigger once, somewhere in the back of your brain, it says, don't stop now, you're screwed.
Yeah, so there's an incentive.
That's a really good point.
Dragon Genesis. I'm sorry, go ahead. Go ahead, Sammy.
It just brings me back to I can't remember who said it. You commented on it, Andy. In the country, there's a few countries it looked like that allow, or as a defense anyway, beatings if your honor's been, offended. But my question is that couldn't people just use that as a defense, even if it's not true? You just want to give someone a beating, or you do for whatever reason, and then use that excuse. Sure. How do you prove that your honor was offended, and what counts as offending one's honor? Like,
there's a lot of subjectivity.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Dragon's Genesis almost got shot 7 hours ago.
That's messed up.
That's crazy, dude. That's crazy. I'm sorry to hear that, dude.
I got a big shocker of a story. I was pulled over and arrested for marijuana. And while I was going through the process, they have a person standing inside of a room with you, and you undress, and they give you clothes to put on. And the kid that was inside of there, I'm somewhat familiar with this kid, and I started a conversation with him. And I was like, you really enjoy doing this type of work? And he was like, yeah, I can't wait until somebody pops off so I can hit them. And the look of shock on my face, whenever he said it to me, I think he realized that I'm not one of those kind of people who thinks that that's cool.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I'm going to stay away from you now.
Yeah.
I know not who I'm going to talk to whenever I'm in town.
Yeah.
Unstable.
Well, that's the thing is there's assholes in every walk of life, right?
Mm.
There's
there's
absolute power tripping assholes in every place in the world. So.
There's a lot of pedophiles in the world too, but they seem to be gravitating towards certain jobs.
Yes.
There are certain jobs that allow people to exercise their psychological, problems.
Yeah.
And if you're given to violence, it's no surprise that you want to exercise that violence by being in law enforcement. Just as if you're a pedophile, if you're a perp, why not be in a priest, or why not work at the Chuck E. Cheese?
Yeah. Well, I a little kind of on the same topic, but a little off topic from what we're talking about. I was actually a manager in a restaurant, and I've calmed down in my old age, and but I used to have a temper, and it never never materialized against customers, except for once when I threw these people out because they were just being idiots. But it used to happen to when staff would push me, and I just lose my temper, like yell at other staff, and it was unprofessional, but I was younger, I was late, I think late 20s, early maybe early to mid 30s, and I mean. And it's what people don't realize, and people that haven't done it, is just how stressful restaurant work is. Like, it is, without a doubt, one of the most stressful jobs you can do. And people don't realize it. They go, "Oh my God, you're just serving food," but there's pressure, there's stress, especially working in a kitchen.
I would say that
I've done both.
I would say that on the average, my job as a short order cook was generally more stressful than me working with people who are potentially agitated, people who have disabilities and were potentially agitated, because those had intense moments of, oh my God, I don't know how this is going to play out. While working in the restaurant, it was just a constant stress. Yeah, a constant stress.
Yeah, I've worked both. I've worked front of house most, but I've also worked kitchen a lot, and it's always a competition that chefs go, "Oh, we have the harder job." "Oh, servers, we have the harder job." It's different kinds of stress, and it's both just as just as bad.
Yeah, true enough. The girlfriend pointed out about cops. I think cops shoot several times because they don't actually have very good aim. They might actually miss something. That's interesting. I remember seeing FBI statistics. This is back in the 80s, Mikey. These statistics are all that most gunfights are within very short distances, and that they're typically in dark situations, and that people miss. There's a lot of missing in
which
gunfights.
Brings me to my next effing point. This is 2021. We've been to the moon. We can, you know what we can do. Why can we not develop weapons that don't kill? We have
non-lethal weapons, but
why don't we use them more?
Yeah.
And why don't we develop them?
Me and my dad have talked about this since I was like a teenager. Why are we not like shooting like a tracking device onto people and letting them run, and then just let them get to where they're going, and then you can go and do what you need? I mean, I could see where there would be problems with that. You could take off the clothes, but there's gotta be an answer.
High
to
pressure
that
water can force things into your skin.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No, interesting.
Well, that or just use like you would, not calling criminals animals, but or anyone animals, but like a gun that a tranquilizer.
Hang on. There's a product called Die Witness, DYE Witness, and I think it went off the market because of sales. But it's a spray that's a soap, like you get it in the perpetrator's eyes, and they can't see, but it washes out just like shampoo does out of your eyes, but it stings. The other part of it was it dyes the perp green. So it's really easy to see somebody if they have a big blotchy green face or their clothes are covered with green. You can follow a guy for years. Well, not years. You know what I mean?
You're going to take me to the magic pot of gold, huh?
Yeah. So it was actually deemed to be more dangerous than bear spray. I don't think it went to the Supreme Court, but wherever they were debating it, somebody got sprayed, and it said because they made a mistake and got sprayed and subsequently arrested, when they went into their job, they had green all over them, and everybody knew that they had been in a crime.
Yeah.
And they lost their job. They got shunned by their church. Their family found out about it, where normally they wouldn't. So it was deemed unethical, and it was taken off the market. One other point I want to make before I shut up is to the point that the girlfriend made about cops not having great aim. Some police officers aren't required to go to the shooting range unless they're in a shooting and have an issue. Some of them haven't been to the shooting range in 10 years, and they're on the job.
So what you're saying is that there's higher requirements to work in a kitchen than to be a cop. Because if I work in a kitchen, you have to have your food handlers. You have to have your hazardous materials things, and also I think are they so hungry to hire cops that clearly some of these guys wouldn't pass a really intensive psychological test if these people are on the force.
Well,
are they that desperate to hire cops?
Well, I had this joke about a personality test for cops. It would be, word association. It's like white is to Caucasian as black is to. That would be part of my word association test.
I was going to say they certainly wouldn't pass my interview, would they?
No,
not the de-escalation questions.
No. Oh, Jesse Beer has a horrible story. It's Jesse's worst experience at work. A drunk customer at a salon screaming at me. They made an appointment. I'm hearing an echo from someone. I don't know who it is. They made an appointment for a cut, got there and wanted color too, and started screaming and threatening violence. I froze. And it's freezing, it's fight, flight, or freeze. Those are the three reactions people have in situations like that, Jessica. That sounds horrible. All because I didn't have time to do the hair color. Yeah. That's crazy.
I actually had an incident with a customer. I haven't had customers yell at me often. It's very rarely. Like I think I've been doing this job as a server for over 20 years. I think it's maybe happened not even a handful of times.
Well, you're a big guy, actually, Glenn. Aren't you a big person?
No, I'm like 5'9", not even big. I'm not taller. Yeah.
Right,
so, the incident in England, these guys basically were at the bar, but they were at the high top tables, and they bought alcohol, and one of the drinks they bought was for a guy that might have been underage, and he had no ID. So I said, like, so one of the servers came over to me, and I was a manager at this time, and I said, like, I can't serve him alcohol. He goes, he has no ID. I can't serve him alcohol because he might be underage. They go, oh, we'll just get him a drink then. No, I go, no, you won't, because you can't prove he's of age.
Yeah. They
start verbally abusing me. There was another guy, I guess, backing me up because there were four guys, and he was just standing there. I didn't even know he was there. I guess he was a good thing, because who knows? They basically said, okay, and first off, tell fat boy behind you to leave. And then I go, okay, you know what, guys, just get out. But what happened last year was I was working in a restaurant, and I ended up throwing those guys out. Long story short, we had it. We came. The school comes over and goes, I don't feel comfortable. Glenn, can you go over and just check and see if these guys are drunk? And they all the people were slurring their words and genuinely sounded drunk. Okay.
Yeah.
So I asked the younger lady, I go, I don't mean to be rude, but they have been drinking. They go, no, they're just really excited. They've been cooped up because this was right, I think, after we came out of the first Ontario shutdown last summer. And I go, okay. And then when everything was fine, and they had a couple of bottles of wine for the table, there was six of them. So, it's not that, it's like, 2 glasses of wine each. At the end, the guy's doing the card payment, and he's really slurring his words. So I go, so I went up to the lady, I go, and as what we call here, which is called smart serve, I don't know what your equivalent is in the US, that you can't serve alcohol unless you like take this thing where you learn about over serving and all that. I don't know if you guys have that in the US. You can't serve Ontario alcohol in Ontario unless you have.
Yeah, we have a similar system. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's my responsibility as that person that if I suspect that someone is drinking, I've got to ask a question on who the designated driver is.
Yeah.
So I asked, and she goes, I go, just got to ask her, any of those people driving? She goes, I'm glad you asked. I go, and she gets up, starts yelling at me and telling me that these people, that I was being rude and discriminatory against disabled people. And I'm sorry, slurring your words. I've never heard of a disability like that. Now, it could very well be, but they sounded more drunk than disabled. And I had a right to ask that. Yeah. If she told me right at the beginning that they were disabled and that's why they were slurring their words, I wouldn't have said a thing at the end. But and she yelled at me, and I go, and I just froze because I couldn't say anything. I go, so I just walked to the back, and they left. But I mean, you know what? I did what I thought was best, which was walk away from the situation, because if I let my temper take over, it could have been worse. Yeah. Because if I respond, then she's going to then throw it back at me and be a hell of a lot worse.
It would have just gotten uglier, Glenn.
Yeah.
It would have just gotten uglier. Yeah.
Now, saying that, 10-15 years ago, quickly, sorry, I'll be done in 10 seconds. 10-15 years ago, I would have responded completely different, because 10-15 years ago, I would have let my temper take the best of me. And,
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. What were you going to say, Tobin?
I was asked to go to Kroger's and go pick up some milk. And on my way inside, I passed a woman as I was going through the doors. I made it over to the milk section, and the woman approached me, and she was like, I know you. And I stood for a minute, and I really tried to remember, and I was like, I really don't know you. And she was like, she started naming my high school and stuff like that. She did name some stuff, but I was like, well, you're around this area, those places. It's probably likely that I visited those places, but I still didn't know her. And I was just like, I grabbed my milk and I just walked off, and I went and I grabbed a couple of other items, and I got in line and I was paying out, and the woman came behind me, and she started at it again. And I was like, I don't know you. And it was at the point where it was starting to get really uncomfortable. The lady, the cashier, finished our transaction. I grabbed my stuff. I'm walking out in the parking lot, and she comes up and she grabs a hold of my shoulder, and she spins me around, and I just pushed her. Yeah. And I grabbed her leg, and I started pulling on it. I started pulling on it real hard, just like I'm pulling all of y'all's legs.
Sorry for laughing.
That's pretty good, Calvin. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. I like that. That's a nice misdirection there. That's good.
Good one. Yeah, because I'm you know what, like there's I almost had a confrontation. I think it was probably 4 or 5 months ago. I was in one of the grocery stores, and they have a wine store attached to it. And someone walks by, and she wasn't wearing a mask, and and she basically said that they said she had to leave, and she goes, I have a medical exemption. And part of me said, Glenn, just shut up, shut up, shut up. And I did do that. The other part of me was going to go, so if you're a medical exemption, why the hell are you out in this, doing this? You know, why are you doing that? Why are you doing this? And, because, against my, I went with my better judgment that time because,
I can usually control myself unless I think of something really funny to say.
Yeah.
or that I'm really tired, or I'm already agitated. There's an equation, there's an algorithm whether or not someone's going to pop off, right?
Yeah.
So if you have all these factors, and all of a sudden, and all this is done in like a split second, you don't even think about it, right? Like I said something hilariously horrible the other day when my girlfriend and my kid was around, and I'm going, wow, that was really funny. But it was absolutely horrible. Not directed at either one of them, of course.
Yeah.
But it was like one of those comedian moments that you think to yourself, maybe I shouldn't have said that.
Yeah. Well, there was an incident where if I was living in the US, I probably wouldn't have said anything. But I was in an A&W, and downtown Toronto is not the safest part in the world of Canada, but it's still a hell of a lot safer than probably most urban cities in the US. And some guy was just being a complete dick to this. Like it's they're the ones that stay open really late. A lot of the NWs don't. And this guy was just being a complete rude asshole to the cashier. And I go, and I told him, okay, just shut the hell up and leave her alone. Now, I'd had a little bit to drink, so a little bit of liquid courage, and the fact is that it could have been bad. Like, he could have had a weapon, but he could have also turned around and tried to hit me, at which point, I had my two friends there that would have stopped that. But I also can't, a lot of times I'll stand up for other people before I stand up for myself. And I just,
Sure.
that's
the thing is, this is interesting. Jesse Beer says someone with legit medical excuse, they have PTSD and masks trigger them. They use a clear shield instead. Sure, if that works, that's great. You know what I found is that I have found just, and this is difficult because, and I'm sure Sammy has seen this before, is that I have found just being distracting humorously, just like it has a way of distracting people's attention. And if it's about something that's stupid or funny, or me just talking to my phone, there's a variety of ways of getting people out of that moment. There was a story on Hidden Brain, the podcast, where a woman was working in a shelter, and there were these two women who were about to get into like a real situation. So this worker went out and tossed a rag up into the air and said, "Fight on," or something like that. And that was able to de-escalate the situation quickly.
Sorry, what did she say?
She said, "Fight on," or "Game on," or something like that.
Yeah.
And that was able to, and it was the episode about humor that Hidden Brain did a couple of weeks ago. And I thought, I've done stuff like that before. It's a risky gambit, but it is something that can be used to de-escalate situations.
I find that the best de-escalator right now is just grabbing your phone and starting to record what they're doing. Yeah, go ahead and do what you got to do. It's like, crap, he's got it.
I smile a lot, to tell you the truth. I hate smiling, but I do smile a lot. I smile a lot here, and I smile a lot when I think shit's about to go down. There's the thoughtful look. There's the, and then there's sometimes a smile can just de-escalate things too.
Yeah.
Well, you were talking about. Sorry.
My wife says I have road rage, but I say I have stupidity rage. And I rage at people's stupidity. So when I see people putting people's lives at risk, it does make me rage. There's nothing I can do about that. I don't let it affect my driving, or I don't chase them down unless I don't have the kids in the car. But I think if you don't be angered by that sort of, we're driving death traps separated by painted lines. You know,
we're driving weapons,
and we don't
aircraft.
think like that. Nobody thinks like that as they're driving.
Sammy, one of my things out here, we have a driver education system that has a red L for learners. You have a sticker about, yay big in the back of the car, and then there's a N that you drive with if you're a new driver, to let other drivers know that if you make a mistake, you're a new driver. So there's a lot of bad drivers out here that drive with an N on their car, right? Or people go around and like I do, if you see somebody doing something incredibly stupid 2 or 3 times in a 10-minute space, if they have their window open, you drive up to them and say, "Hey, your N fell off."
Do you have, Dave?
That's not a bad idea, though. I would totally. I think that should be implemented over here, because there's a lot of times people just don't know what they're doing, and other people getting frustrated at that person just makes them even more insecure and skittish. That's it. I like that.
Yeah.
You see,
or a permanent N that you don't. You have to progress and pass a series of tests to get off the N.
Yeah. And I was talking. This is terrible. I was talking to some people in the lunchroom the other day, and there was a girl there who has her new driver, and she's trying to get qualified as a full-time, like regular driver, to get the N taken off her car. She's failed the test 3 times. At what point do you park that person?
Couple things. Dave, I'm just assuming you're a little bit. You're around my age or a little bit older, right?
I'm the same age as Andy. Almost exactly.
So I remember, I think it was maybe when my brother was taking the test, which would have been about, I'd say, 20 odd years ago. They went to graduated licensing, as in, I think when you and I took the test, it was just the learners, just the written and then the one driving test, right?
Yeah, I took my driving test in 1986.
Yeah. So did British Columbia go to graduated licensing, I guess, around the same time Ontario did, where we had to do the G1, the G2, and then the regular license?
I don't know exactly what the date is, but I do know that one of the people on the committee who decides what new drivers have to do to qualify for their license is my sister's boyfriend or brother-in-law, essentially. He works for ICBC out here, and he sits on that committee, so he's involved in making those decisions.
Cool. Yeah, I wanted to say something about the whole what you guys were saying about learners, and then I completely. This is it. Saying that I got my license at 17 or something. I honestly don't think people should be driving at 16. That's just my personal opinion. I think it's too young.
A year and a half after I had my license, I had gained some experience, and then actually went out and took a race driving school and a motorcycle course, and realized I never should have been on the road alone at that time.
Yeah. I think people should start driving much earlier, like not actually on the roads, but like around here, I'll let my kids drive around on the back roads and stuff like that. And golf carts, people should get acclimated to it. That takes away the nervousness. If you're just starting out at 16, that is probably not the best scenario.
Well, I first drove a snowmobile when I was 10. So, I had my brother on the back who was 5, so and my brother started drove it around. Okay. It was up near Ottawa, and these people had this big wide open, acre place, and we borrowed the snowmobiles. But I mean, we were on them. It's back then it was obviously the mid 80s, and people were a lot less skittish about giving their kids, life-threatening machines of death,
So I got my motorbike license when I was 16. That's when you can get your L's here. And to have your L's in a vehicle, you need a licensed driver as a passenger. But for a motorbike, you don't need a passenger, obviously. So
no, you need somebody to be riding with you or in the car behind you here.
Ah, well, we don't have that. You can just jump on the bike and go once you have your L's. But it's a very intensive course. And the stuff I learned just to get my L's to ride my motorbike, I never learnt through the entire process of getting my full license, a driver's license. Things like, so we have signs as you approach a corner that are the recommended speed to go around the corner. There is nowhere in our driving test that explains what those are. On my motorbike course, he actually asked us all what we thought they meant, or how they determined. And we obviously could guess that it was the speed to go around the corner, but he asked us how they determined that speed. And people gave answers, everything from how fast you can go around it without a drink spilling, all manner of things. The reality is that's the speed you should be doing to have the safe visual distance ahead. But it just shows that, we get chucked out on the road. I think everyone should have to do a motorcycle course before their driver's course, just because it's.
I don't. I think a lot of people would be dead if they tried to get on.
Yes, but that's not necessarily a bad thing, Dave.
I was on an 80. Well, sorry, go ahead, Toby. Sorry, I didn't.
Oh no, I was just agreeing with Andy. I've laid down a Ducati in somebody's front yard and walked away from it, and I was like, "Hey, buddy, you need to go pick up your bike because I'm not going any further."
Yeah.
Well, those Ducatis are like they're basically a drag car on two wheels. Those things are so damn fast.
Yeah.
Well, I ride a CBR 600 RR, and it's my fifth motorcycle. I have over 240,000 kilometers experience on 6 different motorcycles.
I don't know, man.
Now, I imagine that you've obviously know an awful lot, and you could probably teach quite well.
But I don't have the patience.
Yes, but it's people like you that teach these courses, and these guys have had scary crashes, and
I've had 2.
To me, if you come out of these courses and you ride and cause your own accidents, you deserve it.
Yeah, that's my little baby.
That's a beautiful bike.
Okay,
I get when other people cause an accident, and that's probably a large percent of the time. So here you're taught to ride as though you don't exist.
You drive out here like everyone's trying to kill you.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you this question: do you find that being involved in an accident has made you a better biker?
No, I drove pretty much 150,000 kilometers before the first person actually swerved in front of me and took me out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It
didn't change how I drove, and I drove very cautiously.
Yeah. Well, you see, my cousin was actually killed on a motorcycle. So my dad used to drive a motorcycle all the time, and he used to pick my sister up, drop her off at work, and then go on his motorcycle. And then I think it was a combination of his nephew, my cousin, dying in England, and he was a safe. I think he just hit a patch of water and something, and just wiped out and got run over. And my dad having an accident, and it wasn't serious. Like, he had some scratches and stuff, and my sister got thrown from the bike, and she was fine. And I think right after that, I think it was either a combination of my mom saying, "Okay, do you really still need to ride?" and him saying, "I'm done with this." He hasn't been on a bike since, and I'd say 35 years ago.
The
road rash makes you stronger.
Yes.
I think you said that.
Brother.
I don't think you said that.
You don't get road rash if you're dressed properly for riding a motorcycle, and as long as you don't impact something. Like I was swerved in front of, and the guy basically clipped my front tire and took me down on the road. So I went, and I was in the middle of making a left-hand turn. He turned right and came all the way over into the left lane.
Yeah.
And there was lots of witnesses and all that. But I mean, I tumbled off the bike and got up, dusted myself off. I was fine. They bought me a new helmet and fixed my bike.
Oh,
The
yeah.
insurance, right? But
I
yeah.
want to go over what Jessie Bear said. Is that 4 kids from her graduating class in grades 11 and 12 died in car accidents. I guess most of them from alcohol-related stuff. Yeah.
Well, I had a girl that I worked with, and she'd got her license. She was 18, and she regularly posts a picture because she went to a party, had something to drink, went to lie down asleep and a couple hours later, her friend said, "I need to be can you drive me home?" And she was still very intoxicated. And she's lucky she's alive because the picture of the car was pretty much almost a V shape from the front to the back. And she every day, like, she realized just how stupid it was, and 2, just how unbelievably lucky she was that all she got was back damage, because she's now walking, I think, without a cane. But for the first year and a half, she was walking with a cane. Her friend, she could have killed her friend. She's damn lucky.
Yep.
I mean, you don't have to be drunk to be in an accident, but it sure as shit doesn't help, right?
Yeah. But I saw this thing. There used to be this car. I think it was either Fifth Gear or Top Gear in the UK. One of them did a test on what is worse, alcohol or sleep deprivation. And sleep deprivation is actually worse, a hell of a lot worse than drinking, because in a way, like, I'm not condoning drunk driving at all. Like, I would never, ever say. But if you're driving drunk, a lot of times you're concentrating harder because you realize you're intoxicated, unless you're paralytically beyond. Whereas when you're tired, you've got more of a chance of actually causing an accident because you're falling asleep on the wheel.
Oh, yeah. And I've known people to fall asleep at the wheel, especially if you have undiagnosed apnea. A buddy of mine, that happened to him. He just blanked out for like a couple of seconds. Thankfully, he didn't get into an accident, but it's a real problem.
I almost got into an accident from being being out really late and just being no alcohol in my system, just being incredibly tired.
Yep.
And then just falling. I was driving down this main road, not a highway, and next I like wake up and I'm almost hitting a median, and I was lucky. I swerved out of the way, like at the last second. I could have easily, like, if I wasn't going that fast, but the impact would have done serious damage to the car, and I might have, hurt broke something on my face, So
yeah, there's reports back, I think it was in the 80s or 90s, where they did studies on 18-wheeler and B train and C trains going through the United States, and what was the cause of the accidents. And in most of the cases, they were sleep deprivation.
Yeah.
And they changed the rules so that they can only drive. They have to keep a logbook. They can only drive for 8 hours at a time. They have to get a minimum of, I think it's 6 or 7 hours sleep a day. They changed all those rules, and they eliminated half of those accidents.
Yeah.
Simple fixes.
Yeah.
Wow. 73% of all road fatalities in Australia from 2013 to 2018 were males.
Yeah.
Dude, we're like crazy behind the wheel. Dudes are,
Well, it's not just the decision you make behind the wheel. It's the decision you make to get behind the wheel, right? Like, should I be driving right now? Who's going to make a better decision there?
Yeah. You see, because a lot of times people will go for a drive when they've just had an argument with their significant other, which is the worst time to go for a drive, because your nerves are afraid. You just want to, like, blow off steam, and and that is not the go for a walk, go for a run, go for anything other than getting behind the goddamn wheel of a car.
Yeah. Yep.
That's what that video game Carmageddon is for. Have you ever heard of this? Carmageddon?
No.
Oh, you drive around and there's like 6 other cars you race against, and there is a race, and you can actually finish first, but you get points for everything you squish, including eliminating the other drivers. So it's like Demolition Derby on steroids, or maybe on acid. Yeah. If you could play that game with a VR helmet on, I think you'd go insane.
Oh yeah.
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 But I would say the most trouble I've gotten behind the wheel is when I've been too tired to drive. Yeah.
Well,
I got only 1 hour of sleep. I got 1 hour of sleep one night, and I was doing this is when I was in college, of course. and I was going to meet up with a bunch of fraternity brothers up in Harvard Square. And this is after right around major tests, and I was working, and 1 hour of sleep, and I was in Harvard Square, and I looked at a pretty girl when I shouldn't have, and I was going at only maybe 5 miles per hour because I was kind of like at a stop sign, and because I had a shit car, so I totaled the car or just wrecked it, But yeah, that was probably the worst accident I've ever been in. And that was just totally by lack of sleep and being stupid and young.
Well, I had where I think it was only like 4 or 5 years ago when I went to a concert in Toronto, but my job, I worked in a diner, so I was doing the open, which means I was there at 6:30 in the morning.
Yeah,
and then I was up at probably 5:30 or something like that. Up at 5:30, there at 6:30, worked. I couldn't sleep when I got home because you're wired from work and everything. I then went to Toronto because I lived about an hour outside of Toronto. The concert, it was Guns N' Roses. The concert started at 10 o'clock at night. They didn't get on. Their set time was 10 o'clock till 12:30. So it's 10 o'clock till 12:30. You grab something you grab a hot dog, you grab a pop. By the time I got back to my brother's place, by the time I got home, it was almost, I think, after 4 a.m. So I'm driving down this main stretch. It's just a main, like a 2-lane, 80-kilometer-an-hour road. And I was just, and honestly, if the cop had been there, he would have pulled me over for what I thought was intoxicated driving, because I was falling asleep every 2 seconds. I was swerving from side to side. And honestly, I'm lucky there was no one else on the road, because, what could have happened. And at that point, I'm like 25 minutes from home. All I want to do is get home. It's like, I'll sleep on the side of the road. I go, I just want to get home. I just want to get home and get into bed,
Oh, I've slept in my car many a times after a night.
Yeah.
I'm like,
if you give yourself like 10, if you go park, fall asleep, you may only actually be asleep for 15 to maybe 30 minutes. You're not losing a whole lot of time. By the time you wake up with that little burst of sleep, you can wake up and keep on going. I have a good practice of that whenever I have worked myself overly and I know I feel it coming on. I'll just go find somewhere, go park behind some building, pass out. And really I wake up, shortly after, and I can have my wits about me. I strongly suggest that.
Yeah. No, after that, it was like, okay, if I'm tired, I don't care. I'll just, I can sleep anywhere. I can sleep standing up sometimes. So, maybe just fall asleep in the car for even if it's for 20 minutes, half an hour, because apparently if you sleep more than those 20 minutes, you go into what they call, I guess you go into a deep REM sleep. So at that point, waking up after an hour is actually worse than sleeping 20 minutes, apparently, because you get into a deep sleep and you wake yourself up.
I have to wonder if that's why. I was looking at deaths by age group, and I was actually very shocked that the highest death age group is 40 to 64-year-olds. I wonder if they were falling asleep.
Oh, wow.
No, well, the speeding is the main cause, then alcohol, then fatigue is the third. Wow. So there you go.
So we are winding. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, that's all right. But then 26 to 39-year-olds, then 17 to 25-year-olds. So the youngsters are actually a lot safer than the olders.
Interesting.
Yeah.
There you go.
We are winding down. We are winding down in the show because I do have to go to work. Dave asked me in the chat about how my cat search is doing. I actually, thanks for reminding me, Dave. I just sent a message to Adopt Don't Shop Massachusetts Cats on Facebook, the group, and asked them if they have any cats available for the weekend. And so,
wait, just for the weekend, or to pick up on the weekend and keep?
Well, yes. If they're available on the weekend, because cats fly like hotcakes now. If we are going to go visit a potential cat, then there's if we would pull the trigger right then and there. So we would see the cat, interact with the cat, and then just grab the cat with us and just take it.
Oh, I got all excited there because you said flying cat, and I thought, oh, you're fictitious God. I hope you get a flying cat.
That would be pretty awesome. That would be pretty awesome.
COVID causes cats.
That sounds like a
Pathos article.
Right.
That sounds like a great new superhero. the flying cat.
That's right.
The flying cat, like it, there's Mighty Mouse, there's what's Danger Mouse, and
Right.
now there'd be Flying Cat.
Flying cats, right?
Flying cat.
All right, everyone. Thanks for
Super
showing
cat.
up. Super cat, super flying cats, right?
Yes.
Cats with
Yeah.
capes.
I'm gonna have to
And-
close everything down.
And the Republicans will blame that on Biden too.
Of course, they'll blame everything on Biden. They'll blame it on them.
So
All right,
don't
thanks
forget,
everyone.
hang on before you sign off. Don't forget to like, share, and tell all your friends about this wonderful broadcast and Andy's hard work on the Disappointed Cat Morning Show. Tune in
Yeah.
every day.
Yes.
Oh, why, thank you. All right, everyone, take care. Thanks in the chat. Thanks for everyone panel, right? And take care. We'll doing this whole crazy thing over again tomorrow.
I'll see you next week, guys.
Take care, man.